This is PWF Empire Live.
It's the best thing going today.
The best insight and analysis on the hottest topics in the world of wrestling happens here. From storylines and news to rumors and reviews, we've got the action covered from bell to bell. Presented by PWFEmpire.com with your hosts,
Steven,
Evan Medina, and J-Dub.
do I have everybody's attention now?
The match starts now.
PWF Empire is live. Thank you all for tuning in this Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm Jay, and my fellow co-hosts for the evening are Steven and Evan. This is the big day after the big day. I'm dying to know what you guys thought, but we got a whole show to discuss that. But holy shit, Vince McMahon is back in WWE. A lot of stuff going on.
And it's not New Day Blue Day anymore, is it, huh?
Oh yeah, I had to dust off this shirt. Now, I was doing that whole New Day thing, but you know what? I had to represent for my ride or die trio, the Shield, because before there was a New Day, I was a big mark for the Shield, and you know, we got Roman Reigns there, Dean Ambrose representing for Seth Rollins too, so had to show all of them love at the same time, so why not? Evan, I can't hear you right now. You're talking, but I can't hear anything you're saying. Yeah, I can't hear it all. So, I guess we'll go ahead and continue on. Before we get into the show, I want to preview it for you guys and let you know a few things that we'll be talking about. Tonight, of course, Roman Reigns, the coronation, him winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in the main event of Raw. We got a few buy or sell topics. Speaking of Roman Reigns, his buddy there, Dean Ambrose, he recently won the United States Intercontinental Championship. He already was United States champion, but he won that from Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens, he definitely had something to say about that on Monday Night Raw. We have a kayfabe tier list coming from Steve in the post-TLC edition, and we also have a WrestleMania preview. We're starting our road to WrestleMania very, very early, and that's going to happen right here tonight on PWF Empire Live. But before we get to WrestleMania, let's talk about what happened on Monday Night Raw last night. The WWE World Heavyweight Championship match between Roman Reigns and Sheamus saw Roman Reigns win and become the next champion, but that is not where it started at all. Stephanie looked as if she was about to fire Roman Reigns kicking off the top of the show, but she said Triple H didn't want her to fire Reigns, and there was someone coming to the arena who just may put the nail in his coffin, and that person was Vince McMahon. We saw Roman Reigns mixing it up with the McMahons all night long, which led him to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match at the end of the night, and this is who we have as champion. Coming out of the final segment of TLC, maybe this is a question that doesn't even need to be asked, but was this a proper follow-up to the Roman Reigns that we saw at TLC?
I'd say for the most part it was. There was some minor nitpicks I had. I didn't really appreciate him getting slapped in the face several times without any retaliation. I thought it was a bit much to have him be kicked in the balls. I don't know, just a bit emasculating on both accounts, you know. But he did get
as
his
far as
revenge
Stephanie
against
is concerned, I understand why people scream the whole emasculation thing, but to me, that was an appropriate response. Like, she was pissed off, she was angry, she was what did she say? Vindictive. Like, all of those things that were going through her mind because he beat the hell out of her husband the previous night, and she got back at him the way that only Stephanie McMahon could, with those billion-dollar bitch slaps. And I didn't see a problem with that. Like, I really liked it.
It's not an inappropriate response, but it's also you're putting Reigns in a very awkward position, because if you want to make him look strong, as they always do, that's not the situation you want to put him in, because he can't get retaliation against Stephanie. So it's just not
Says
the
who?
smartest. Well, says
This is
the
2015.
Culture, which is exactly why he can't. You may think we are progressing, but yeah, you can't hit a woman on TV even if she's beating the shit out of you.
Yeah, I asked on Twitter, like, what's the threshold? Like, how many times did Stephanie McMahon have to slap Roman Reigns before he could hit her back and it
there
wouldn't
is
be
no
offensive?
threshold.
Apparently, yeah, there's no threshold apparently.
I think the only threshold would be if she was literally about to kill him or seriously injure him. Even then,
and then he could put his hand up and say stop.
He can exactly.
That's it. No further.
Exactly.
Do we have life yet? Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
We can hear you.
All right. I'm sorry if the voice quality is not as good. When I was in studio, it wasn't working for some reason. All right. Anyway, yeah, this as an opening segment, interesting to say the least. Stephanie McMahon acting appropriately, I think, yes, but it is a weird situation for Roman Reigns to be in. Although I will say, I think that if you're in Philadelphia, you actually would probably get cheered if he had speared, Superman punch, or whatever.
Oh yeah, he would have gotten cheered for sure.
He would have.
The PR would be not fun.
Possibly, but I mean, I don't know. I think it would
Stephanie
be.
is the brand manager. She should handle that. Like, she's the executive of branding and shit like that. Like, handle it. Go out there and tell them everything's fine.
She's also used to getting hit around, considering she used to get knocked around a lot in the old days. And I know this isn't the old days, and I do think that the man-on-woman violence thing, you know, it should be a little more common in 2015, I think, than it has been the last number of years. Because honestly, we haven't gotten any of it in the last number of years. And I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, Attitude Era, that's why. It's not that. It's for the fact that it's like a shock value. You know, it's like when Randy Orton DDT'd her a few years ago. Like, that was a shocking moment. So if Roman Reigns just kind of looked at her after she had slapped him a bunch of times and then just spears her, like, oh my god, like, that's just an instant pop, and that gets the crowd behind him that much more, I feel.
So what else do we have to deal with here? And by the way, I totally get what you meant, but it's like saying the man-on-woman violence should be more common in 2015. That's just a funny statement to hear, but I totally get what you're saying, though. Yeah, let's talk about Vince McMahon now, because Vince McMahon, he had some dealings with Roman Reigns too. Vince McMahon, he was in Mr. McMahon mode there. He the way that he came onto the TV, he actually interrupted a Bo Dallas and R-Truth match, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And
it was because the moment they announced that match, like when I saw R-Truth come out, I'm like, okay, where the hell is this going? And then Bo Dallas, and it's like, all right, what's the point of this match? I was about to go on Twitter and say, this is the most pointless match I've ever seen. And then they picked the perfect match to interrupt, basically.
Yeah, I was enjoying the show and everything. I was sitting there and I looked at the clock. It was like 8:47. I'm like, well, 47 minutes of a good show, guys. It was fun while it lasted. But damn, the fun did last, and then it extended from that point on, because you had the return of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He stood face to face with Roman Reigns, and just all of that rage that was on Vince McMahon's face and his voice, it was palpable. And if Roman Reigns didn't feel it before that moment, he damn sure felt it when Vince kicked him in the balls. So some more ball busting, this time literally by the McMahons. But at the end of the night, he got his get back, because he's a WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He knocked the hell out of Vince. And that one moment at the end of the show where he kicked him out of the ring, I was like, oh my God. Like, Roman Reigns on Monday was friggin' awesome. And I didn't even make note of this until after the show was over. He won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in the same building that he won the Royal Rumble, and they fucking hated him then. But what an amazing turnaround. And talking about grapefruits, like, shit, Roman, you may be wrong about Vince, because the fact that he came back to the scene of the crime to have you win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, that took a lot. And I'm glad that they had that faith to do it, and also the strong creative to back it up to make it an amazing moment.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see Vince back after a year. I feel a bit nitpicky. Maybe I shouldn't be. But I feel there's part of me that's nagging about this, and I'm not going to criticize it too much, because in the end it worked. But I always feel like these storylines, they work better when they're based in reality. And right now, everyone knows that Vince McMahon is totally behind Reigns. So to see him so against Roman is kind of like, well, I don't actually buy it. It's working, so I'm not going to bash it. But I'm going to say I don't buy that Vince is against Reigns.
So I got a question for you based off of that.
Right.
How, if somehow, some way, we would have found a situation where it was believable that Vince McMahon was against Roman Reigns, how much could what we actually got on Raw have improved from reality? Like the way that it was? Because I look at that and I say that was fucking awesome, because it wasn't just about Vince McMahon not wanting Roman Reigns to succeed. It was about Vince McMahon seeking retribution for the fact that his son-in-law got the shit beat out of him the previous night, and he wanted to emasculate Reigns. He wanted to humiliate him because of that. So, like how much more could that have been improved if they would have made it believable in your eyes?
In terms of the actual execution, I don't think it could be improved too much. But I will say that there's a difference in quality between Daniel Bryan versus The Authority and Reigns versus The Authority. Because when Daniel Bryan goes against The Authority, you know, not only is this an on-screen rivalry, but this is an actual rivalry, because these guys really don't want this guy to succeed. Whereas in this case, Reigns is against The Authority on screen, but behind the scenes, he's completely on The Authority's side. So there's a mismatch there. But like I said, it's not required that things measure up to real life. It's just, it adds that emotional element that's often missing from wrestling these days. You get it often when you kind of walk that line. In this case, it's not here, but it's still effective. So like I said, I don't want to bash it too much.
Yeah, I think it's important to look at it from the perspective of it being a moment. Like, it was a huge moment for Roman Reigns. Like, that was the greatest moment in his career, no question, obviously, because not only does he knock out the freaking boss of the entire company, not just the Triple H boss, but the big boss, the real boss. And then after that, you know, he wins the title. And that kick out from the bro kick was nuts, because I thought the match was going to end that way. I really did. I thought he was going to sue, because beforehand, my prediction is, oh yeah, Reigns will win the belt tonight. He's failed too many times. It has to be now. This is a perfect moment. You have Vince out there. I can see Vince either freaking out because his guy lost, or, you know, Vince getting assaulted the way he did. But when he hit the bro kick, I'm like, wow, they're gonna have Sheamus go over. And then the kick out, surprising. And then the spear was excellent. It was maybe the best spear he's ever done in his career. I mean, really, things could not have fallen more into place for Roman Reigns on this night. Like, I cannot paint a better picture for the way Roman Reigns has been booked in these last two nights. And maybe I, as Steven, may be critical, maybe I am being too optimistic about it, but I am going to take away what was good. You could argue, yes, this was on free television. Why did we get what we got at the pay-per-view just to get it given away on free TV? I like that they suspended our belief on television one time. Like, give us something different. We never get this on TV. The last time there was a title change for the WWE World or WWE title, not the World Heavyweight title, was in 2006. I mean, it's been almost 10 years. So it's good that you get a surprising moment, so that way people who might have tuned out of Raw might be ready to come back to it now because they got something a little bit different, or those who tuned in got something special, and it might keep them watching. So as a business perspective, I think it was actually a smart move to have the title change take place on Raw rather than the pay-per-view. We're used to it being on the pay-per-view all the time. I'm not saying this should be the way WWE conducts their business going forward or anything like that, because it's not. But to have it happen this one time is a moment. It's something that you will remember. All I know is this was the best Raw of 2015, in my opinion, and this was the best finish to a Raw in a really long time. Like an amazing finish to the show, and I can't ask for better. I really can't. They gave me the badass Reigns to finish TLC and get me into Raw, with a good attitude, and then they gave me a reason to feel good all night last night with that show. It's not like the whole show was perfect, but the biggest moments, the ones that matter the most, were executed well, and that's what I take away. And Roman Reigns looks like an absolute star. He really does.
Yeah,
I have one last criticism. Um, I feel like I'm raining on this too much. No pun intended.
I
really
have my
liked it.
umbrella.
I really liked it, but when I look back on it a day later, I feel like there are things that really don't make sense about this that I don't like, because that's just how my mind is. And when I watch wrestling, I don't want, because I feel like this is relatively good. I want actual good, and so I'm gonna critique it even though I enjoyed it. So my problem here is he beat the shit out of Triple H, and we go off of TLC saying, oh shit, this guy's in trouble. But the next night, he gets a world title match, and he didn't even ask for it. What happened was that Sheamus came out and said, I'm so confident that I could beat you. This is the same guy, by the way, who wouldn't get in the ring with Reigns while there was a table or a chair in there. The same guy who says that says, I'm so confident that I'm going to put up my title. Well, isn't that convenient? And then Vince McMahon says, okay. So he's about to fire this guy, but yeah, you get a title match. And so I'm like I said, I enjoyed it, but this is very contrived as far as that goes. I would have preferred maybe that Reigns would have been the one to get the title match some way, instead of it just being not only handed to him, but offered to him. Like, he didn't even have to suggest it. It's just like, I'm so confident that I'm going to put my title... Like, what? I don't know. It's just, there's something that's nagging me about this. And
that feels like a storyline that's like we've seen before. You know, the heel gets arrogant, puts their title on the line, and loses it. Like, I see where you're coming from with that. But honestly, it was kind of a nice moment to have, because we don't. Maybe it's because we haven't been getting that frequently with a big title match on Raw, and the implications of what there was with somebody potentially being fired and whatnot. Maybe it was a bit.
Don't get me wrong, it was good. I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the moment. It was good, but it's still like, I like when there's implications and stakes, and this guy just beat the hell out of the COO and he gets a title match. Like, to me, there wasn't enough to justify that. Like, there would have to be something that would force Vince's hand in any realistic scenario to say, okay, yeah, here's another title match after you beat the shit out of the COO. But like I said, I'm critiquing this with my logical mind. This didn't affect my enjoyment of it, and I think it was a very enjoyable segment, both of them.
Yeah, I mean,
or all three.
To play the advocate, I feel like, you could say that Vince McMahon is the kind of guy that has a lot of, so much arrogance in him that even what Roman Reigns said to him actually could have just let him actually give him the championship match, even though it was very simple. But maybe that's what we're supposed to see, and maybe that's what Vince McMahon is supposed to have been all along, is he's that kind of guy who's very impulsive, both in character and out of character, from what I can tell. But I mean, I really do think that might be part of what they were trying to give us as well, is that he's an impulsive guy, and because of that, he's just like, well, fuck it, then here's your title match, even though he's doing what he wouldn't do normally. He wouldn't just give that title match away. He maybe let the emotions get the best of him. I mean, I maybe that's just all looking too far into it, and I think that's kind of what we like to do, is kind of poke that and go too far. But I mean, I feel like that's one way to defend it. I'm not necessarily saying that's what I think their intention was, but I'm just playing the advocate and looking at it from the other side.
Oh yeah, I completely get that.
Here's the thing. I feel as if desperate times call for desperate measures. And all of those questions, Steven, that you had, I had those same questions as well. But we're at a state right now where, we've talked about it every single week on this show. Something in the milk is not right. The product is bad. Something needed to happen to cause a spark to ignite a fire, and I believe that this was that moment with Roman Reigns and everything that happened to lead to him winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So if I can get saved from a bad product by some questionable things happening and maybe even venturing into the illogical, that's a deal that I'm more than willing to take, because as long as I've been supporting Reigns and as long as I've been seeing him in WWE, and this year, just this tumultuous year for this guy, the ups and the downs and just not knowing what to do with him, the approach from creative being all over the damn place, finally you have a legit badass guy who's not trying to be the moral compass of WWE. He just wants to go out there and kick ass. And the fact that they finally found out, oh, hey, we let this guy go out there and kick ass and people like him. Wow, who would have thought that? So we finally get that Roman Reigns now, short on words, long on action. And yeah, if some illogical stuff had to happen to get here, that, like I said, that's a deal that I'm willing to take there. So from this point, we are going to move into our buy or sell segment. We have a few questions that I'm going to be posing to the PWF Empire Live hosting panel and also the listeners and viewers of the show right now. You're more than welcome to play along with us. The first buy or sell topic we have: Dean Ambrose, a new Intercontinental Champion and President of WWE. He had a match with Dolph Ziggler on Monday Night Raw. That's not even what I'm concerned about at this point. I want to talk about Kevin Owens, because once everything was said and done, no, it wasn't even once everything was said and done, because he came out and he attacked Dolph Ziggler to cause the ending of the match, and he beat the hell out of both guys in the ring. He actually powerbombed, I forget who he powerbombed on who. It was, I think, Ziggler onto Ambrose, one of them. But yeah, Kevin Owens, he powerbombed those guys. He walked into the back, and one line that he gave that I found very interesting was, Dean Ambrose thinks that he's insane now. I'm going to drive him completely crazy. He's going to put him in an asylum and all of this type of stuff. But basically, Kevin Owens is looking for vengeance now. So do you buy or sell this quest for Kevin Owens towards the Intercontinental Championship once again?
Well, the way you phrased it, I have to buy that. But in general, I kind of sell what's going on here, because
why?
It's just the same old to me. Nothing new here, and I'm not excited. I don't feel like this is a big feud, whereas it could be. So far, this is a WWE Universe feud, and by that I mean the video game, because all that happened was he came out and he beat the shit out of them. I'm so sick of this stuff. This is this type of stuff that you gotta find something else. Like, this is so overdone. The whole you come in and beat the shit out of your opponent. Like, something else has to happen. There has to be something else that could be done in order to progress a feud at this point. So I'm just selling it. Not that it was bad, but because it could be a lot better. He says he wants to drive Ambrose insane. Well, let's see him do that. And that doesn't just mean you go run in his matches and beat the shit out of him, because that's not going to drive a guy insane, necessarily. I want to see something interesting and different out of Owens versus Ambrose. I don't want to see just people interfering in each other's matches and throwing popcorn at each other.
But the popcorn and soda, man. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I personally am going to buy what I saw on this week's Raw. I can't be fully convinced that this storyline is going to be as good as we all want it to be, because it's too soon to tell. I mean, you kind of do have to play the waiting game a little bit to really figure that out. But this week, I liked what I saw. I think Kevin Owens acted very appropriately based upon what happened to him at TLC. He feels that he got screwed at TLC, so he comes out and makes a statement. I really like that. Now, I don't know if we're going to get a triple threat with Ziggler, or if he was kind of just there to get beat up. I'm kind of hoping for the latter in this case, because I think that there's a lot more to tell with just Ambrose versus Owens, rather than also throwing in Ziggler into the mix too. I just think that that's not necessary right here, right now. But either way, this was appropriate. I liked everything Kevin Owens had to say post-match as well. I don't know. I think this feud has potential to go somewhere really far and be something really good for the mid-card. It could be like I said, this is the best thing for the Intercontinental title presently, right here and right now. But I do think that it should definitely continue, first of all, and that's where the good part of Ambrose winning the title can be. It can unleash more of Owens as an aggressive, true heel, and he was getting actually heat from coming out and beating the crap out of Ambrose. I like that. If Philly is booing Kevin Owens, then he's doing something correctly. Like he's playing his character very, very well, and I think that's the thing with Kevin Owens is that execution. So for me, yes, I'm going to buy what I saw here. Like I said, I think it's good to play the waiting game with this feud to just we're not going to sit here and already say yes, this is a great IC title feud. This is exactly how you start it on the path of being a great feud. But again, we'll see if the next few weeks are actually on track with that.
I am going to buy this also. I really liked what I saw on Monday Night Raw with Kevin Owens coming out and showing that fury. And I think the big difference is, Steven, like, yeah, you can say that this is something that we have seen before, but has it been as effective as we've seen previously? And I'd say it's actually a whole hell of a lot more effective, because not only does this do something with the Intercontinental Championship, because when you have Kevin Owens so pissed off and saying that he's like he wants to drive someone insane because they took the Intercontinental Championship from him. The way that Dean Ambrose celebrated after he won the match, and then the way that Kevin Owens responded to Dean Ambrose winning the match, you have two people who crave that championship, and that makes the championship matter to me, because I've always said this. If you have people out on the TV, on the shows, in the ring, wrestling for titles, and they don't seem as if they care for the title, why the hell should I care as a fan? And Kevin Owens, the way he acted on Monday Night Raw, he made me care about that title because he cared about it. Also, the second thing that this does is this brings out the Kevin Owens that I want to see. The Kevin Owens that he's completely ruthless. He just has hell, that's the really unhinged guy in WWE. And the fact that this guy, the same one who stabbed his best friend in the back for a chance at fame and fortune, that's the guy that I want to see on the main roster. And I believe that what we got with him and Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler was a step in the right direction. So I'm buying this. Next up, we are going to talk about Monday Night Raw as a whole. If you want to tie this into TLC maybe, or at least the final segment of TLC, I'm starting to sense a bit of a change in the air with the way that things are going in WWE. Roman Reigns, his booking is back to being on point. The overall episode of Monday Night Raw, I felt that it was constructed differently. Not necessarily saying that it was a perfect episode, but I can sense a change in the effort and a change in the approach to the show. So I want to push this out to you all. Did you get any sense? So do you buy or sell an era of change? Are we in the midst of change?
No, we're not. We're definitely not. I sell this. I'm not stupid enough to think that this is an era of change, as you put it. It was a good episode, don't get me wrong, but we've seen good episodes before, and they're usually just one-offs, and there's a reason why this episode was good, and it's not because... Well, at least I have no reason to think that they're committed to a change in philosophy. This isn't like Vince has sat down and said, okay, we got to do something different. Well, I don't know, maybe he did do that, but this wasn't different enough for me to say this was an era of change. This was good, and it was watchable for once, and there was quite a few good segments and a nice storyline with Reigns, but other than that, it wasn't dramatically different. It's not something I could say that this is a revolution, especially when they tried to sell us that the divas were changing, and we saw how that went. So no, I don't buy this, that it's an era of change. I don't even sense that. I sense that it was a good episode, and I'll be surprised if next Monday is as good.
Oh my!
Yeah,
See, here's the thing, though. They are not selling a change. I'm simply posing the question based off of a few things that I've seen, and the way that I looked at Monday Night Raw, like I said, the construction of the episode was different. They got the Roman Reigns booking on track. Also, we had that segment backstage with the Dudley Boys actually being able to look into the damn camera and not
that was the only thing
awkwardly.
I will say that's the only thing I felt different. I tweeted about that too. I felt like strangely fulfilled, like someone was noticing me for the first time in 15 years. But then again, that was a very bizarre promo. It wasn't your traditional backstage interview. It wasn't even an interview. It was just kind of like what the Wyatts do, except the Dudleys were doing it this time.
Well, you know what else I like?
them do more of that going forward.
I would like to see it.
Well, Yeah, I like the fact that there was some flashbacks thrown in there. That's what I thought was cool, was that they were not only talking about their past, but actually showing you a quick clip of that past. It was like you were inside their heads. To me, it was different and good different. Some people might have thought it was hokey or stupid, but, that's usually what people say about things that are different that haven't quite caught on yet. I think that's actually something they should look to a little more often when they have, like, a returning vet or something like that that has had past moments. Not to say that they always have to stand there and talk about their past, but if they're having even an interview, they could maybe show you a clip of some of their past, so that way newer fans will have a bigger connection with that guy going forward. Obviously, there's different ways to do it, but as far as a change in WWE, no. Okay, I mean, I've been watching this stuff for way too long to suddenly think that this is going to dramatically make us happier and have a better product here. I'd love that. I would love for it to be better. One good Raw is not going to make me suddenly feel that way, though. This was by far, in my opinion, the best Raw of 2015, but I think it was so much better because of how crappy it normally is. If you have a show that is normally consistently not that good, a show that's even somewhat better is going to seem 100 times better than it really is. And I'm not saying that that's completely the case here, but I do think it has something to do with how enjoyable this show ended up coming off. And that's okay, but I want to see them actually build upon something here and give us some consistency. I can hope for it. I always will hope for it. I've said before, I'm an optimistic fan, but one good Raw is not going to make me think that change is coming. I'd like to think that it can come and that it still is a possibility. I always think that's a possibility, but I don't see it right here, right now. But this certainly does make me look forward to the next Raw. I'll say that much. They have me for next week. They do. But all they have to do is give me a couple of R-Truth versus Bo Dallas matches and not cancel them, and then we're in trouble.
So here's the thing. I am not saying that we are on the dawning of a new era and this is going to be a revolution or anything like that. I'm just acknowledging the fact that I saw some different things about Monday Night Raw that I greatly appreciated. My big saying is criticize when necessary, but give credit where credit is due. I've done a whole hell of a lot of the criticizing when it has been necessary, and this is my moment to give them credit. And I talked about this a few weeks ago on the show. You have 3 things that you need to achieve with the wrestling show. You need to provide payoff to the stories that you tell. You need to be entertaining, and you also have to give people something to look forward to. It's been a while since Monday Night Raw has done all of those 3 things in tandem, but this last episode of Monday Night Raw, it did do that, and I felt I needed to acknowledge it. So, tip of the hat to you, WWE. You don't get too many of those from me these days, but that's my offer to you for that awesome moment that you gave us at TLC and that big show on Monday night. From this point, we are going to move to Mr. Steven and discuss the kayfabe tier list. This is the list for TLC, following the TLC show, and we are going to discuss this right now. So, Steven, I guess you can go ahead and take it away. Like, what's your overall, is there an overall thought that you have going through your head right now with the kayfabe tier list and the changes that have been made since the Survivor Series edition?
This one, I felt like there wasn't much movement. I made some adjustments, that's what I'll say. And it's not adjustments based on anything that's transpired necessarily. It's just adjustments to maybe, like, last time I felt like it wasn't exactly an accurate reflection of the product, whereas this one I feel like it's more accurately reflecting what I see on television. So I'll say this was a bunch of tweaks or a bunch of adjustments. Now, yeah, go ahead.
One big thing that I see on this kayfabe tier list is the fact that Roman Reigns, of course, he has a WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and he has moved to the A+ tier. We talked about this with the Survivor Series edition of the kayfabe tier list. In normal circumstances, you would want the WWE World Heavyweight Championship to be on that top tier, and now it is there. So what does that move mean for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and the status of that title? Because I remember at it was our TLC preview. You talked about how the title didn't really have any credibility. Does this move start the journey to giving it credibility?
It could very well start the journey to giving it credibility. I don't know if Reigns beating Sheamus gives it credibility, because Sheamus, of course, cashed in on Reigns, who beat Ambrose, who was not the champion, and that was after a tournament where the champion wasn't involved. So this title is so far removed from who I think is the legit champion, which is Brock Lesnar, that you got to do some work before I start to think that this championship actually reflects the top guy in the company. Now Reigns is, I think, one of the top guys in the company, so that's good. But he didn't necessarily earn the title by beating a top guy in the company. He beat Sheamus. Not very impressive, in my opinion. So, as far as that goes, it is a start. If he defends it against credible opponents and wins, then that makes it seem like, yeah, this guy, not only is he credible, but he deserves to be the champion. So if he goes up against Triple H and wins, if he defends against Brock Lesnar and wins, then yes, this is a legit championship again. But right now, I don't know if that's necessarily the case, just because of the way it's changed hands since Brock Lesnar.
So would you say that although the championship may not have gained a ton of credibility, will it feel more credible now that because it's around the waist of someone who does have something going for them right now?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I think, too. Same thing. I mean, I got to say that the championship right now has been, mediocre as far as it's been booked. Going back to even, with Rollins' title run being, underwhelming, and then Sheamus winning in the way that he did and everything. But this is this week on Raw, the title felt more legit than it has for the majority of 2015. That's pretty crazy to think that one night made the title feel more important than most of the year did combined.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Ambrose went up as well. Okay, so let me say, why did Reigns go up? Because he lost to Sheamus at TLC, then he beat him at Raw. He went up not because of the wins or the losses, because, like I said when I introduced this, it's not necessarily a wins and losses tracker. What it is it represents the credibility I think they have. So Reigns beats the shit out of Triple H. Suddenly I think that, well, he's at least on par with Triple H. If they have a match, I think Reigns will probably come out on top. Or at least there's a 50-50 chance, which is the criteria I use as sort of a rule of thumb. So I'd say he's back into that A tier, which he was earlier. Ambrose moves up because Reigns moves up. Because that with Reigns in the A+ tier, that you got to ask, well, can Ambrose beat Rollins or Randy 50-50? And I think there's a case to be made that he could. He has beaten Rollins before. And
I was just going to say, with Rollins, he absolutely, we've seen him pin him clean on Raw, so definitely has a shot against him. I mean, with Orton, with the way Orton's been used since the last time he was champion, I would say he has a shot against a guy like Orton. I think that's a fair assessment for Dean Ambrose right now. And, yeah, I mean, because he is friends with Roman Reigns, by association, he kind of becomes more credible, too. And I think because of the fact that now he is IC champion. I mean, that does hold some weight to it, too. And I know it's not based off wins and losses, but him beating Kevin Owens, who had previously beaten John Cena clean. And I know that Kevin Owens, yes, had some ups and downs with his booking, too, just as everyone has. But, considering Kevin Owens has won some solid matches over his run, I think it's fair to say that Dean Ambrose belongs there.
Yeah,
I honestly don't buy Dean Ambrose there. I can't see
well,
it.
Another thing is Dean Ambrose did make it to the finals of the tournament, so that also says something. And he beat Owens twice, so it's like at this point, he's pretty much conquered that tier, especially because most of the guys in that tier are injured. Well, so is the case for A, but that's beside the point.
If we had an area between A and A-, maybe, but I don't think we do. But it gets. I'm having a hard time with that one. But I guess it's just my mind, the way the WWE presents Kevin Owens, but I guess I do have to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, Dean Ambrose did beat him twice, which still sounds crazy to me. Like that, I watched both the damn matches, and I didn't even make that connection until you specifically said Dean Ambrose beat Kevin Owens twice. But one other thing that I want to talk about, because on the last edition of the Kayfabe tier list, we had Xavier Woods with his New Day partners in the B+ tier, but Xavier Woods has since moved down.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't move him down because of anything that happened. I felt like it was more of an adjustment, where I kind of wished I had him in that tier from last time as well, so I just sort of remedied it. And the reason I have that is not because I have a grudge against Xavier, but because really he's more of the manager in this group. Usually when there's a big match tag team match going on, it's not him who's in the match, it's Kofi and Big E. So for that reason, I think he's a little bit below him in terms of credibility.
But to be fair, though, he did throw the trombone in and and did help them win the match. So I don't know, man. I think that he belongs up there.
Now, see, Steven didn't forget about it. He actually does have a grudge.
He does, yes. I mean, hell, he even said he was releasing Xavier Woods when we weren't even talking about it.
When he wasn't even in the damn
Look, at this point, I'm just doing it to piss off Jay, so...
Like Evan and his little Eric Rowan stuff. And I like to point out, isn't Eric Rowan the lowest rated of the Wyatt family? Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not just picking on...
Damn.
I'm not just picking on Xavier.
Yeah,
no, you got it right in the Eric Rowan case, but you are picking on.
Yeah, you see, Eric Rowan should be like right next to Brock Lesnar. It's pretty clear. I mean, the guy sacrifices himself.
As his manager?
Yeah.
Should he take the place of Paul Heyman there?
That's
the only way I could possibly see.
They finally forced Rowan to get a victory. They said, okay, dude, I know you like to put people over, but we need you to have some credibility. So we got to give you the pin against the
selfless
ECW
sacrifices
exactly.
of Eric Rowan have finally paid off.
Absolutely. And not only that, but he could show Brock how to solve a freaking Rubik's Cube in under a minute. I mean, watch Lesnar and how much better of a wrestler he's going to be because of the fact that he will now know how to solve a Rubik's Cube that quickly. I mean, I can just see it now.
Is that how it works? Are Rubik's Cubes the key to superstardom?
Absolutely, yeah. It's more important than winning the title, right? Come on. Solve that Rubik's Cube, Brock.
Alrighty, okay, Steven. I guess you can go ahead and stay where you are because we have more with you on PWF Empire Live. We got a comment from, I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it Sasha or Shay? You know who you are. SHASHA WWE on Twitter. She wants some WrestleMania predictions, and also she's asking the question, who should win the Royal Rumble? Well, ask and you shall receive, because right now on PWF Empire Live, we are going to present to you Steven's early WrestleMania card, and this is him attempting to predict what it is that WWE is going to do, and that is a very difficult task. So thank you for doing that, Steven, and let's go ahead and reveal what you think the main event of WrestleMania is going to be. Is this the right button? Nope. Oh, nope.
No.
Oh, I like that one.
Oh yeah,
Wheaties,
that's
yes.
New Day on the Wheaties box.
I love it. I love it. That really needs to be a legit thing.
Okay, I think this is... Bam, there we go. So, and by the way, that was designed by me. Yeah, but we had an old school WrestleMania card right there. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Now, I understand that there may be some groans out there because this was the intended main event for WrestleMania 31. Some people may be saying that, why are we going with this match again? Let's try something different. I would say the reason why we would go for this match again is because, damn it, I didn't get a resolution the first time around. Seth Rollins interfered, and I honestly wanted to see the clash of the Titans between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. I thought that the match that they had at WrestleMania and the story that was told was so great to the point where I could have actually seen Roman Reigns defeat Brock Lesnar and win the championship. So I need a resolution to that story. But why did you make this your main event for WrestleMania 32?
Well, several reasons. The first is what you just said. I feel like it's unresolved. There was no finish that involved these two guys, at least. It felt like we built up Brock Lesnar for a year. He beat the streak. He beat Cena. And then there was no payoff for it. He didn't lose to a babyface. And so there needs to be some resolution, not just to Reigns versus Lesnar, but to Lesnar as a whole, because he is currently still riding the fact that he beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. As far removed from that as we are, he still maintains that credibility, and no one has toppled him. And if you're going to have someone topple him, there's no one else on the scene right now than Roman Reigns who could not only believably do it, but also probably needs it the most. So I think you have to go with this. You have to give the resolution that we should have gotten last year, or maybe not. Maybe it was good with what they did last year, but we still need a resolution to this feud. And I think that Reigns is a whole lot better than he was a year ago. Like, he's made so much progress, not only in terms of his character, because that's been a roller coaster. Just last week he was saying tater tots. This week he's being a badass. So we don't know for sure. He could be back to the same old shit next week, but we're hoping that he made a change in character. But more importantly, he's gotten better in the ring. Like, a year ago, he had basically 3 moves, and he would do those, and his matches just were not good.
He executes so much better now, too. And even the moves, even though he still doesn't have the most versatile moveset, which I've always argued that he doesn't need, because he's a strong guy anyway. He doesn't need the all these crazy moves in order to still feel legit. It's okay. Like, guys who are bigger, such as a Roman Reigns, can no question get by with less moves and still put on great matches. And yeah, I mean, I really think that with all the improvement he has, he will feel so much more credible winning this year than he would have last year. So I really am glad they didn't pull the trigger on him winning at WrestleMania 31. It was really the smartest decision not to have him win there, because it wasn't time. Just wasn't time. And I think this year, and I'm with you 100%. I think this match, no question, should happen at WrestleMania 32 as the main event. I really do. I think this is the perfect rematch. There is some history there. And again, yeah, if you're going to have somebody take down Brock Lesnar and be the first person to pin him in a couple of years, actually it'll be about 3 by the time that match happens, since he's really lost a match, if I recall correctly, or lost a match, via pinfall and not in a weird way to Undertaker at SummerSlam. And that's a huge deal if Roman Reigns is that guy. And I think WWE is desperate for a star, and we've talked about that time in and time out. But yeah, they need that star so bad that this is how you do it. There is nobody above Brock Lesnar, and that's where your tier list is the most accurate, is that Lesnar is above everybody else. He is on his own level that no one else is at right now. And Roman Reigns showed us these last couple of nights that he can be a big star in this company. A win over Brock Lesnar really gets him to that stardom, and I think it's very necessary for him to do. I really do. Whether he walks in as champion, challenger, whatever, he needs to win that match, and I think he walks in champion.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and look at the full card here. Some notable matches you have here: John Cena versus The Undertaker. I also see Team WWE versus Team NXT. Do you have like a road that we could possibly go on that would lead us to a match like that? Let's see. Sheamus, King Barrett, Rusev, Alberto Del Rio, Finn Balor, Apollo Crews, Hideo Itami, Samoa Joe. Yeah.
Well, there's 2 things about this. First is you presented this to the audience as this is my predictions, whereas some of them are, but some of them aren't. This one is not a prediction. This is just me being the booker myself. Second is I don't see a road. right now, so that's a problem. But we still have a few months to get there. And considering Vince and Triple H are both on the scene right now, it's not impossible to get to the point where these two are facing off. Also, Triple H is kind of losing heel steam right now. He's been a heel authority figure for a bit. It wouldn't hurt him to be babyface for a season against Vince McMahon, especially because there's this whole sentiment that NXT is better, and I'm always about capitalizing on actual emotion. And so there is that, and I think it would be good to capitalize on it. And this match, to some extent, would be an exhibition, because the team on WWE's side is all people we don't give a shit about, at least not as they're currently booked. Like, this would be an opportunity just to show Team NXT as a legit group who are maybe on their way to the main roster, and show what these guys can do at WrestleMania. So that's sort of what that is.
See, we also have Sting versus Bray Wyatt there. Divas Championship Fatal 4-Way. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn Intercontinental Championship, bringing that rivalry up to the main roster.
Love that. That's my favorite match on the rest of the card is Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. I'm 100% behind that, because I think that them on WrestleMania, that match on WrestleMania is just needs to happen. You know, that everything that they did in NXT was excellent. Everything they've ever done with each other in wrestling has always been good. They just have amazing chemistry, and to put that on the big spectacle, I think, is really necessary. And not only that, but that makes the IC title feel really important. Like we talked about IC title feeling important, I really do think that match would make it feel so. And Sami Zayn is just the definition of what a babyface can be going forward, and Kevin Owens is the definition of what a heel can be going forward. That's just such a perfect clash to me. So I love the idea of that match.
Yeah, and it's hard because Owens just lost the title, so there goes that. But he can always get it back, and Zayn is pretty much ready to come back as far as I know, so it's definitely something that's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah, technically he is back now.
Oh, is he?
Yep. Yeah, he's been competing in some matches over there with WWE's UK tour.
Okay, so there you go. And Cena versus The Undertaker, I think that's another match along with Lesnar versus Reigns that a lot of people are just kind of banking on, because Undertaker looks like his last match might just be at this WrestleMania, and who could he face? It's not going to be Sting, it looks like. So this is the last chance and sort of the last possibility for his opponent. It looks like it's going to be Cena. And also, who's Cena going to face? Go ahead.
And I'm okay with the idea of Cena versus Undertaker. I actually think that's one of the Undertaker matches that we've been wanting to see at WrestleMania, and it never has happened. So I really am okay with that. And see, again, I'm being strange when I say this, but I would be okay with Kane Taker one more time. I'm okay with that, because if it's Undertaker's last match, if it's not, then never mind. But if that's going to be Taker's last match and it was against Kane, I'm really not upset by that. And I know that Kane's character is what it is, and I know that they've wrestled at WrestleMania 2 other times already, and I know that they've wrestled each other in general very many times. But I would be okay with it one last time as like it could be a retirement for both of them, to be completely honest. But John Cena is also a good alternative. And I'm going to say this much. If I'm playing fantasy booking and I have Sting and Taker on the same card, they're definitely facing each other, though. Maybe that's the old, like I've said many times before, it's probably the fan within me that has wanted to see that match desperately my entire life. But I there's no way that doesn't happen for me if they're on the same card.
Yeah, I don't blame you as far as that goes, but Sting at this point is not credible enough to take on The Undertaker, in my opinion. He could have been if he had beaten Triple H and had a better showing against Rollins. Then yeah, he could have, but not even in the same league at this moment. So, but I don't blame you. Like, if they're still active and they could still go, I can see that's a dream match for you. So of course you would prefer that. Now I have Jericho versus Dean Ambrose. Originally it was going to be Orton, but he got injured. I actually like this better a little bit. In this scenario, it would be kind of like the feud that Jericho had with Punk. I would have Jericho as the heel. Jericho has a good ability to put on interesting feuds when he's this heel persona that he's mastered since 2008. So I just think that's sort of a filler match for Ambrose, because what else is he gonna do? And they started something at what pay-per-view was it now, where they teamed up with Jericho and he cost them the match. So I would like to see that resolved in some manner.
What was that, Night of Champions?
I don't know.
I don't even remember that.
But yeah, Jericho has unfinished business with Ambrose and Reigns, but
that makes sense.
Yeah, we're gonna give him to Ambrose, and I'm gonna make it a street fight because, I mean, why not have one gimmick match on this show aside from the multi-man matches?
Yeah, the only other opponent I could see for like an Ambrose would be like a Stardust or something like that, and he's not relevant enough. He's not relevant enough. But if he was, I think that'd be a great match, especially because they could play off the whole weirdness factor. But the problem is you can't really play off the weirdness factor because Ambrose is less weird and more. They tell you he's weird, and not that he actually is. And whereas Stardust is doing a great job. And I've been an advocate for turning him back to Cody Rhodes, but that could even be an angle to do so. Like it could actually be the way that he comes out of it or something like that. But
I mean, if Cody was better booked, then yes, that would be a decent match.
Yeah, and that's what I'm predicating it. Like I'm saying, if he was better booked, that's what I would do. But I actually think the Jericho Ambrose thing works only because of the fact that there was a little bit with them. But I wish they followed up on that right away. I feel like it being so far out is going to be a little bit hard to distinguish, but it still would be a good match, I think.
Right.
Alrighty, guys, that is it for the WrestleMania 2 card. Make sure you let us know what you thought about the actual matches on the card and the look of it, because I think it looks fucking awesome. You know, I'm not gonna say I would think it. No, I would think it was awesome because it is awesome. So yeah, the person that made it, he was awesome too. He still is. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and close this episode out with the Swerve. This is the return of the Swerve, and I had to bring it back for a very special reason. I want to address Mr. Ryback, or the Ryback as Daniel Bryan calls him, because a lot of people have been trashing Ryback, calling his character stupid because he constantly falls for the same thing with Lana. They've done this time and time again where somehow, some way he'll get into a bit of an altercation, like a physical altercation with Lana on accident, but Ryback, he's so he's fixed on Lana to the point where he actually loses matches, and people are saying that, you know, this has happened way too many times and the guy is dumb as a result. I look at it as, you know, from a different perspective, because Ryback, he is putting his career on the line, but you have to wonder to yourself, why is Ryback putting his career on the line because of the safety of Lana? And I found out the answer to this last night. Remember when I was telling you guys about the Who's the Daddy storyline? Ryback is going to be in that storyline because he knows something about Lana that we don't know. Like, there is no other reason in this world why he would put his career on the line for the safety of Lana if he didn't know something. And I'm telling you guys, it's coming. That storyline, the Who's the Daddy storyline. Now we have Rusev, Ryback, and Dolph Ziggler. So I'm turning face on Ryback this week because he's a stand-up guy and he's protecting his family. So that's it for this episode of PWF Empire Live. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Same place, same time. PWFempire.com, YouTube.com/PWF Empire. Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, peace out.